Well, good morning. Today I want to go over verse 6 of the first chapter of the Sefer Yetzirah, the book of creation. So let me go ahead and share my screen. And here we are. So, as usual, let's first look at the translation of this verse by the late Rabbi Aryeh Kaplan. And he translates it as 10 Sefirot of nothingness. Their vision is like the appearance of lightning. Their limit has no end, and his word in them is running and returning. They rush to his saying like a whirlwind, and before his throne they prostrate themselves. And next we have my translation, 10 declarations of constraint. Observed like a flash in a mirror, their purpose has no end, and the words and things of it are in them, running and returning, and to its utterances they rush like a whirlwind, and before its throne they bow. And then this last part I have in brackets. It's not really in the Sefer Yetzirah. It's from Genesis Rabbah, the rabbinic commentary on Genesis from long, long ago, but I felt it fits in here. And it's Rav Huna who says this. And behold, whatever you see are but parts of the ways of the Holy One. All right. Let's get into this. What this actually is this is a continuation of the Sefer Yetzirah's presentation and discussion of a meditation technique. Okay? And continuing, our world is in many respects a reflection of what arises in consciousness. If we are angry, we see anger in the world. And if we are happy, then we see happiness in the world. The world is a mirror for our thoughts and feelings. A few of us may be lucky enough to attain a high state of consciousness in which no thoughts at all are present, and even the subject-object dichotomy has been transcended. This state of consciousness without an object is absolute and cannot be transcended because there's nothing left to transcend. However, when one returns from one's meditation to more familiar states of consciousness, the first thing to reappear is the separation of oneness into observer and observed. And that ripples across one's vision like a bolt of lightning. Then thoughts pick up, and we engage once again in that game of thought that leads us away from the center, and then back to it again as our thoughts vanish once more into the observer. That's what all the running and returning is. Our consciousness, our awareness runs out, gives the appearance of running out to objects, and then returning back into awareness, back to that place where everything is understood. Okay. Furthermore, whenever we turn our attention to, whatever we turn our attention to, there our thoughts will run only to bow once again to the throne of awareness as they are observed. Over time, one may even realize that there is no real running and returning, since every observation is always inescapably bound with the observer. We may also realize that once we separate the universe into parts, we cannot perceive the whole, at least in the usual way of perception. As long as our minds insist upon separating the observed from the observer, there will always be something of the whole left out of each perception. Of course, the bottom line is that all of this separation is really just an illusion. And below is the verse from Ezekiel that is the inspiration for this particular passage. Ezekiel 1:14, and the living creatures ran and returned like the appearance of a flash of lightning. And again, also notice that at the very end, I added a saying of Rav Huna from Genesis Rabbah. This line is not in the original text, but its meaning is in keeping with the message of the Sefer Yetzirah. And Rav Huna Quoting Job, he says, "And behold, whatever you see are but parts of the ways of the Holy One." So we're always looking at the parts, not the whole. But by getting in touch with that observer within, that awareness at the core of our being, we get a sense of the whole. We just don't observe it in the way that we observe a chair or something on TV or a song that we're listening to. Okay, let me go back to my translation again, where I have 10 declarations of constraint. Those are the 10 declarations that create the universe. In our previous verse, we saw that those 10 declarations define 5 dimensions, 5 spatial, 1 temporal, 1 moral, and we use those dimensions to create our universe, what we see, observed like a flash in a mirror. Their purpose has no end. Okay, when we separate things into observer and observed, it's like a bolt of lightning suddenly creating observer that sees a vast sea of nothingness, and there's no end to it. And the words and things of it are in them, running and returning, and to its utterances they rush like a whirlwind, and before its throne they bow. Okay, I'm using it in place of God, because usually when we say God, we get all sorts of images, an old man on a throne or something else. And I'm trying to avoid those images. The Zohar sometimes does this, just refers to God as it. Okay, so every object of perception, we have the sense of running and returning. Our awareness runs out to observe an object and returns with it to consciousness, but of course that's all an illusion because we never leave awareness. Everything is always there, present in awareness all at once. To its utterances, they rush like a whirlwind. Okay. All these objects, all this drama out there in the world, it's like a whirlwind, and our awareness seems to get caught up in it. But then knowledge of that perception, it seems to go back into awareness where it's understood. That is what is meant by before its throne they bow. But again, as I always say over and over again, everything is always awareness to begin with. Nothing leaves awareness. There really is no running and returning. That is just the illusion. Awareness seems to leave itself and go out to see something and then return to itself. But again, all the time, there's only awareness. And when you realize that, well, all the running and returning ceases. Okay. So that's it for this verse. Let me stop my screen share. And so we'll stop recording at this point. And so I'll say shalom. I hope everyone has a good day, a good week. Goodbye, and I'll see you next time.